Hello, everybody. This is George Coughlin, Lazy Days YouTube channel. 今日は got my buddy here, special guest, Mr. Toshi Izawa.
どう
Hello.
もこんにちは。
なぜ今日彼が出てるかというと、昔々トシ君がディレクションして俺2人でプロデュースした Wingnuts Art of Longboarding のお話です。今日は実はこれ1997年に最初作ったからも
すごいね。
う20年
以上。
だよね。でもこれはアート・ロングボーディングっていうウィングナットのそのハウツーのビデオを1本作ってね。でもあれなんでやろうとしたんだっけ？なんであれは？
最初になんか向こうでロングボードがとにかく流行ってたんだよ。
流行ってたよね。
流行ってた。それでまあハウツーこんだけ初心者が多いんだったらハウツー出したら売れんじゃないかなんつって。覚えてる
7時
側まで
そう
見ながらそれでじゃあって言うんで最初ジョエル・チューダーでやろうって言ったらジョエル・チューダーダメだよあいつ適当だから全然来ねえからダメだよなんて言われちゃってそしたらちょうど当時エンドレスサマー2が公開されて94年かなそれでその主役だったウィングナットっていうのはジョージがサンフランシスコでさサーフィンワールドの当時のサーフィンワールドの増刊号の記事を取材して撮ってたらウィングナットとのルートができて
でウィングナットその人のことあんまり知らなかったみたいな紹介されて
それで電話したらね、すごいじゃあやろうってこと
すぐ乗ってくれて俺まさかね、あんな簡単に乗ってくれると思わなかったんだけどメキシコ料理食べたらもうすぐ OK だったもんね。
そうだね
本当
一気に決まっちゃって
一応俺たちはメキシコ料理のおごるかおごらないか大きかったと思うよ
絶対大きいね、それで決まったのかな、それであっという間にできちゃってで彼がいろんなサーファー連れてきたじゃん。 そうジェイ・モリアリティ、もうね
マーベリックス
マーベリックスで超有名になった当時まだ19歳ぐらい20歳ぐらいだったかな、でジェイ・モリアリティだとかあとケビン・ミスクっていう
学校の先生だったんだけどスケボーもサーフボードもうまかったよね。
まあそういういろんなサーファーが登場してサンタクルーズに日本からはデビッド木下と小六宮内健二君を連れて行って、
サンタクルーズはいい波だったね本当に
3週間
それで本当あの波だったら誰でもうまくなるよね。
俺たちうまくなんなかったまあでも3週間みっちりロケやって、いやすごく楽しい日々でしたね。
そしてさ作って出して分かったのはハウツーって永遠と売れるんだよね
まあとにかく当時ね、出してすごく本当に皆さんに好評で買っていただいて、でまあもう20何年経ったんでこれもうリバイバルということでこのジョージのレイジーデイズで流しちゃおうかっていうので、これから3本シリーズ3作を、このチャンネルで流そうと思ってます。で今日は第1弾をウィングナットのアート・オブ・ロングボーディング。
今でもだけどさこの映画って影響してると思うのは俺が高校生の1年下の後輩の女の子がさ、50歳でサーフィン始めてそれでウィングナットのから覚えたんだよアート・ロングボーディング。それで後ろ見たら俺の名前に載ってるから連絡来たんだよね。そういうやっぱり今でも影響あるその人だって14年ぐらい前に始めて、その時に手に入れたのがウィングナットのアート・ロングボーディングなんだって。
嬉しいね、そういう話は。
でも彼女もずっとそれ10年ぐらい持ってて最後にクレジットのとこ見たら出てたってことでさっていうことはクレジット誰も読んでねえなそう
まあね、その記念すべき第1作目です。ロングボードの基本のセオリーが全て入ってます。
そうこれをね全部できればすごくいいサーファーになれるよ、でもなんで俺たちうまくならなかったんだろう。なんだろう
酒ばっかり飲んでたからねまあそんな感じで
Alright Lazy Days, here we go with Wingnuts Art of Longboarding 1. Here we go, Wingnut. Tell us what's so great about longboarding.
The great thing about longboarding is it's all about the free ride. It's like when you were a little kid and you were on a bicycle at the top of a hill and you got to just coast all the way down and turn and have fun. Very little work, lots of fun, speed, the wind rushing through your hair. And that's what longboarding is. It's a smooth turn, a free ride down to the end, kick out and just splash in the water. It's the same primal enjoyment that you had as a little kid. The great thing about longboarding is there's no rules. As long as you're having fun, you're doing it right, go out and get as much as you can and just keep a smile on your face. I mean, surfing is an incredibly humbling sport. You can get the greatest wave of your life and the very next wave curl up to your eyeballs and just be reminded that the ocean's always in charge. You're just dealing with whatever it's going to give to you. So there's no right, there's no wrong. It's all about fun. Get as long a wave as you can and just have a good time.
What's involved when I have to pick out a surfboard for myself?
The most important thing about longboarding is your shaper and getting a good surfboard. Because without the shaper who handcrafts the board that you ride, you'd be helpless. And few people realize how important the craftsmanship that's involved in shaping a surfboard is, that they've been doing it for 30 years, most of the great shapers. Because without a good surfboard, without a great shaper, we just drown. The nice thing about surfing and surfboards is just as like there's a million different people that want to surf, there's a million different types of boards you can use. You can have a complete high-performance surfboard. It's got a lot of rocker, the curve from the nose through the tail. It's got a lot of kick in it. Better for bigger waves, real hollow round waves. And it also has a nice hard edge, a hard rail, especially through the tail. because what's important with a performance board is getting the water to release off the rail. That's what gives you the fast turns and the drive, and that's why you're going to have the 3 fins. You're going to get the drive off of your fins. It's got a diamond tail, giving the corners here to help pivot and break a turn. It's just taking the technology and the designs off of a shortboard and adapting them to a longboard. It's just stretching that shortboard technology out. A board like this is probably glassed with a single layer of 4-ounce cloth on the bottom and maybe 2 layers of the 4-ounce cloth on the deck, and that'll change your weight. That makes this very light at 9 feet. So that's the design characteristics of a high performance board. Very light, lots of rocker, hard edges through the tail, and 3 fins. On the other hand, you go to a board like this, which is a nose rider, specifically designed to camp out on the front end and nose ride. It's really wide at the nose. This particular board is 19.5 inches wide at the nose. It's also 23.5 inches wide in the middle. The tail on this board is 15 inches. If you measure up 12, it'd be 15 inches. That's a good wide tail, because for nose riding, what happens is that water is going to wrap around onto the deck of the board and put weight on the tail, and that weight counterbalances you nose riding on the front end. So the same water is going to wrap on the soft rails and come and sit on this tail so that you can nose ride. This board is particularly wide. It's 23.5 inches wide, which makes it really, really stable. The wider a board is, the more stable it would be, which makes it really easy to walk on because it's stable. You also want them a little heavier if you're going to nose ride. Again, so that when you walk, it stays stable and it doesn't move around underneath your feet. And from here, there's a million different options. So this is another version of a nose rider. It's a 9/8 step deck. And another thing to make boards nose ride better, you make them longer. They are smoother when they're longer, they weigh a little bit more, and again, weight usually is a smoother boards nose ride better. So you just put all those things together till you get one you like. This particular one is a step deck, where they've taken and scooped out the nose of the board so the nose actually flexes down when you stand on it. So it was designed so that you could thin out the nose, it'd be lighter for turning, but still have a wide nose for when you want to go nose ride. This is actually an original 1966 Harbor Trestle Special, and sometimes if you really want to smooth out your style and figure out traditional surfing and go back a couple of steps, it's good to get on a heavier old board, a traditional classic surfboard. This one, we made one a little special for bigger waves. We pulled in the tail. It's only got a 13.5 inch wide tail, and it's a pin tail, which it holds a little tighter in bigger waves. Also, the nose is a little narrower than the nose rider. This is a 16-inch nose. So this one works real nice in bigger surf. This is pretty much my favorite board. This is an all-around good board. Almost any day you go to the beach, I can take this one because it'll do just about everything. I mean, there's a better nose rider, there's a better board for bigger, hollower waves, but if you're not sure what the surf is going to be, or if you're going to go on a trip where you never know what you're going to get, I like to take something like this along, which is a good all-around surfboard. It's got a fairly narrow nose, 16 3/4 inches, so it'll still nose ride, but it won't get in the way in bigger surf. It's got a 13.5 inch tail to a 14-inch tail, so that's a nice tight tail for riding in bigger waves. It's got good smooth rocker throughout the whole board for, you know, nice and bigger waves, nice and small, not too much rocker like the first board, which kind of gets in the way in small waves. This is flat and will work nice in small waves. This is probably the most traditional fin you can find, something with a really wide base, you know, from one end to the other, really wide. That's really stable, real powerful out of the turns because of the wide base for a turn. It's got a big tip, so it'll nose ride really well. You go to the opposite end, and you'll go to something like this, which has a really narrow base, even narrower in the middle, and then it still has a wide tip for nose riding. But if you combine the two fins, you can really see the difference, how much less area there is in this fin. But they're both about the same height. They're both, you know, a deep, nice 9-inch fin. So they'll both work for nose riding and turning. This one is just going to be a lot looser, and this one will be a little slower and more stable. Well, what's nice is the modern fin box is designed that you can move your fin farther forward or farther back depending on how you like your board to respond. Traditionally, if the fin is all the way in the front of the box, the board will be a little looser because it's farther back from the tail, it's up by the hips of the board. These are the hips right in here, and that'll allow it to be a little looser for turning. If you take the fin and move it all the way to the back of the box, like the traditional old style boards, that's more stable. It'll turn a little bit slower, but since the fin is way at the back, it's like an anchor. It really helps keep the board stable. It doesn't really dictate how you're going to surf. One of my favorite traditional surfers is Nat Young. And Nat Young rides a 9/6 3-fin board. And he does probably the prettiest drop knee turns you'll ever see. So it doesn't mean because you have 3 fins and hard edges that you have to be a radical, aggressive surfer. The rider has a lot to do with it because the rider is going to impose his will on the boards. And so that's kind of how you figure out what you want to do. So it's different boards for different situations, and you can change anything. The best advice for a new surfer is to try to borrow as many different boards from friends as possible so they get a chance to try different things and find out what they like. You know, as soon as you hit the water, you're paddling out, and you'll notice right away if you're not laying on the board in the right spot. You know, the good rule of thumb is you lay down and your toes should just barely be on the board. You know, if you're too far back, you'll find that the board tilts up and then it does not paddle really fast. And if you're too far forward, you'll find that the board will tilt down and you'll have water coming and hitting you in the face. So you get yourself comfortable. It's nice to keep your feet on the board. You'll see people that will paddle with dragging their feet, and that just will slow you down. So just keep your feet together on your board. They can be down or they can be crossed. It doesn't really matter. Either way, whatever's comfortable. So when you're paddling out, you know, you get a comfortable position on the board. You want to have your head up, you know, keep your chin up so you can see what's going on out in the lineup. You can see other people coming at you. And then you're just extending your arms, pulling through, pulling under your board is a really good idea. You know, you pull under and out. And you just pull. And you can do it one arm at a time. You can do it with both arms. It's whatever's most comfortable. Sometimes with both arms is a nice rest. And if you're gonna knee paddle, you know, you start, you get a couple of strokes, and you pop up to your knees, and then you're gonna pull. And you just paddle. And knee paddling's nice because you can rest, you can take a few strokes, look around, take a few more strokes. And that's one of the nice things about longboarding is nice high vantage point to see what's going on. So you're paddling out, and a wave breaks in front of you, you have a couple of choices of how you're gonna get through that wave. If it's only a little wave, you know, this much white water coming at you, you'll just push through. Just as the wave gets to you, you'll put your hands down like you're gonna stand up, and you're just gonna extend. And if you've got, you know, the same amount of white water, you'll just go like this. The nose will go under the wave, the white water will come and hit between your chest and your body, and you just push through. So if you're paddling out and you've got a bigger wave coming at you, 3 or 4 feet of white water or more, where, you know, you can't do this because there's just too much wave coming, what you do is you just reach forward on your board and you're gonna turn turtle, which is just rolling over in front of the wave and pulling your nose down so the wave will go over you. So you just grab a hold of the board and just roll with it. And you just pull the nose down and the wave will just pass right over the top of you. And you just hang on real hard to the nose. And as soon as the wave's gone, you just flip right back and start going. Sometimes the water is real cold and you don't want to go under the water. What you can do is you can sit up on your board and you've got all this white water coming at you, and you just kind of sit back on the tail and you just go right up over the top of the wave. Just sit back, hit that white water, and go up and over. Another option for when a wave comes and it's about to break is you can pop to your feet and stand up over the top of it. So you're just paddling along, you hop to your feet, and the wave is gonna come and kind of break right on your feet, and you'll just push right through the lip. If you really think it's a really big wave breaking in front of you, and you don't think you can hang on just with your two hands, sometimes what I'll do is I'll just go up to the nose of the board, and I'll pull it into my stomach as hard as I can, and hang onto it like this, just when a wave breaks, because that way I know I've got a hold of it and it won't get taken out of my hands. Because sometimes if you turn turtle, the impact will just rip it right out of your hands. But I've never lost a board when I've held onto it like this.
What are you thinking about when you get ready to take off on a wave?
When you're gonna take off on a wave, you don't really think about what you're gonna do on the wave because you react to what the wave gives you. So when you take off, you have a really open mind about what's gonna occur. You're just focusing on where the wave, how the wave's approaching you, and what your first turn is gonna be, because that's about all you can see. You can figure out how you're gonna make your first turn. Is it gonna be a real smooth left, go right? Or are you gonna be racing and just running down the line? That's what you're thinking about. And then after you've made that turn, then you look and see what the wave is setting up. You know, is it gonna give you a long nose ride? You're gonna hit the lip? You know, do you think you're going to cut back at the little section that you know is down the line? You know, that's all going to develop as you're up and riding. So you react to everything that the wave gives you, and then you just try to finish clean. You know, because it should look really easy. The best surfing looks like it's effortless, and that's the way it should be. So you start, there's 3 basic ways you can take off on the wave. It's a slow point break wave. You can do a left go right where you fade a little bit one way and whip a turn and go. At a faster beach break, you want to just make a straight bottom turn usually. You hop to your feet, go down to the bottom and hit your turn. Or if it's really fast, you're taking off at an angle, getting to your feet quick, running forward, trying to get some speed down the line, because the wave is really taking off. So there's the 3 styles, depending on what the wave is going to do. Really tricky, and the ultimate, and I think smooth and cool takeoffs, is to be able to take off on a wave virtually without paddling at all. To be sitting in a position where the wave's coming up behind you, and you're right where it's about to break. So you just sink your board into the wave and go with it. And that's a no paddle takeoff. That's the ultimate and cool. It's the trickiest way to do it. You know, different waves have different personalities. You know, you have a slow rolling, you know, either at a small beach break or a small day at a point break, where you can see the wave rolling and it'll roll for 50 yards before it'll break. And so you just have to paddle and try to get up your speed so that when the wave comes, you're ready to go with it. And so there's a lot of work sometimes catching those smaller waves. A faster moving wave, everything speeds up. It's going to be easier to catch this wave, but also you have to react a whole lot faster because you've got it, you got to get to your feet, you got to make that turn because the wave's going to break right away. Really, it's not standing up that's difficult in surfing, it's catching a wave. The actual timing, you know, a wave is moving at you at, 5 miles an hour, whatever speed it's coming, and you have to turn around and judge where that wave is going to eventually break and try to time your speed so the wave's going to come to you, pick you up, and then you're going to stand up just before it breaks. So there's that timing, and that's the tricky part about surfing. It's not standing up. We stand up every day. You wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is stand up, so we know how to do that. Catching waves, that's the shitty part of this. That's what's tricky. The drop knee turn is the most traditional way to turn a longboard. You're going to step back, you're going to hit a spot near the tail of your board, and usually that spot is to one side of the stringer, to the side of the stringer that you're going to turn. And you're going to come back, you're going to be on the ball of your foot, and what the drop knee is all about is transferring your weight, all of your weight onto that point on your foot, so that you can bring it back and sink the board. That's the drop knee turn. Grace is secondary in a cutback. When you're doing a cutback, it's to reposition yourself for the wave. You've gone ahead of the section, you're too far out in the green water, so you want to come back to where the wave's breaking and set up the next section. I really like a drop knee turn. I think getting back on it and really trying to bring the board all the way back around, that's the right way to do a cutback, you know, a regular foot surfer on a right-hand wave. Kenji got a wave. It was a really fast down the line wave, and you just watched him. He actually cut the board all the way back, a complete change of direction cutback. And that's really the heart of good traditional longboarding, is a complete change of direction cutback. You look at Kevin Misk, and when he does his cutback, it's like a big, powerful bottom turn. You know, he's a goofy foot, he carves back down and just explodes into the whitewater and comes back around with it. That's the more powerful version of a backside cutback. When I'm doing a cutback, I have one of two concerns. I'm either the wave in front of me is going to be so small or so slow it doesn't count anymore. So my cutback is going to have a big event behind me. I'm going to cut back real hard and get back involved with the whitewater behind me. So if I'm going to get involved with the wave behind, my cutback, I'm watching it as I come back and I'm trying to get it back up in the face. If I'm more concerned with the wave in front of me and I think I've got a good section setting up, I'll cut back, but I'll be watching in front of me the whole time. I won't even look behind me. I'll keep an eye on that and bring my turn back around, setting up for that nose ride section or setting up for a little tube. That's what I'm thinking about. The CrossFit turn, I think, developed because somebody was walking back to do a drop knee and his feet didn't end up in the right place. And you ended up just doing the same turn, but with your feet crossed the wrong way. For the most part, when I do a CrossFit turn, I have stepped back to do a cutback, and just the way my feet ended up, the legs were a little bit crossed, and you just go with the weight and you go with the flow of a turn. It's an accident.
That's what it was.
It's an accident.
Snake in the belly, through tall grass crawls, and the man in the boat goes over the falls, and the man in the boat goes over the falls. Lion's flank blows round in the sun. Lion's flank blows round in the sun. Pressure mounts under the gun. Lion's flank blows round the sun. A taste, cheap too, the old black magic, a little old voodoo. Shadows fall within the forest. Night bird calls. No light within shall strike the wall. And the man in the boat goes over the falls. And the man in the boat goes over the falls. Take, teeth a two, the old black magic, a little old voodoo. Setting sun and silver stars, impaled by pine, big blue moon pours light upon a spinning ball, and the man in the boat goes over the falls, and the man in the boat goes over the falls, strangling.
Biggest difference between longboarding and shortboarding seems to be walking, right?
Walking is important in longboarding. It's actually what truly separates longboarding from shortboarding. You have the ability to go from one end of your surfboard to the other, to create momentum and speed by moving your body along the board. And the right way to do it is walking. The reason you walk on a longboard is because you're setting up either a nose ride or efficient trim. Longboarding is all about having your surfboard in perfect trim. So you've made your first turn a little bit, and you're gonna move up to the front third of the board, and you're either gonna go all the way to the nose for a nice nose ride, or you're gonna hold back a little bit and just achieve perfect trim. Trim is where your board is in the face of the wave in the fastest place it can go. And it's all about that trim, finding that line where you've walked up, your board's achieved maximum speed, and you just settle down and wait. If you go a little too fast, take another step up to the nose and you can slow down a little bit. Or if the wave is really slowing down, you just walk right back and do your cutback. But it's all about walking. It's not walking is the efficient way to get from one end of the board to the other. Walk down the stupid surfboard, it's easy. Walking back's a little tricky. Don't drink so much. The big difference between walking on a surfboard and walking on the sidewalk is on the sidewalk, you just walk with your feet side by side. When you're walking on a surfboard, you're trying to keep your weight centered over the stringer. So, your front foot's gonna be placed at a little bit of an angle across that stringer, and you're just gonna replace it. It's little small steps right on the stringer all the way to the front of the board. So it's nice little steps, very smooth, very quick, and that'll transfer your weight from the tail to the nose of the board. And the goal is to keep your feet right above the stringer. Keep it on the middle line, the center line of the board. You can also, in bigger surf, or you have a section coming up that you have to deal with, you can take bigger steps to get where you want to go. There's nothing wrong with it, but if you've got the time and you're trying to do it with the most style, it's little steps. The goal of walking is to take short little steps centered right on the stringer, carry them all the way to the front of the board, and it'll end up with you hanging 5. That's the best, all the way up for a 10.
Turning around and walking back that way, it's more just for fun. But you gotta remember, surfing is all about fun. It's just going to be about doing whatever makes you feel good.
If you're going to shuffle up on a board, it's not as smooth. You're still getting your weight to where you want it, but it's jerky. You know, your board kind of bounces and goes like this, so it's not a smooth transfer. It's not a smooth transfer of energy from the tail to the front of the board. And you can see it. You can see it's just it's not going to be a smooth way to do it. And it's just a matter of getting used to picking up your feet and walking. You know, take the end of a wave. You know, you're just about done. There's not much left on the wave. Take a second, stop, and then just walk right out to the front of your board and walk right off. And that's a good way to practice. Just walk off the end of the surfboard. Who cares? No penalty. Nose riding deserves a lot of attention. It's the ultimate expression of a complete longboarder. The ability to travel out to the end of the surfboard, hang 5, then 10, relax, and really perch and make a statement about your ability. To carry your weight on that end of the surfboard, you have to position the board so well that the rest of the board will hang in there while you're nose riding. It's the ultimate maneuver in longboarding. There's different ways to set up a nose ride. A lot of times you'll set your nose ride right out of that first turn. You fade in your turn. As you come out off the bottom, you're pointing your board up towards the lip, up towards the high point on the wave, so the board's tilted up in the face. And right as you come out of that, you start walking forward up on the board. And the board won't actually get up to the lip then. Because of your weight, the board will settle down more into the middle of the wave. So that's coming out of the turn, leveling it off, boom, you're out there, you're getting a nose ride. You know, the other traditional setup for a nose ride is you're back on the tail of your board, you're waiting for the wall to set up in front of you. So you're stalling, kind of hanging out on the tail, just kind of making little turns, just holding your board back, letting the wave set up in front of you. And then it's just a quick little tail stall. You'll see people just shift their weight back a little bit, and boom, then they head out for the front end of the board. Sometimes you'll take off on a wave, running at an angle, and you just take off at the angle and boom, you just run out there right away, trying to pick up speed as you go forward and make the first section and drop in on the nose. Anything in the front third of the surfboard, from about here up, is considered the nose of the board. And you're getting a nose ride when you're standing up here. But truly, if you're gonna say, I hung 5, or that guy, nice 5, that means wrapping 5 toes over the edge of the board. This is a nose ride, that's 5, and that's 10. I mean, they've gotta be over the edge to be actually hanging 5 or hanging 10. And good surfing is all about trim, being in the right part of the wave where you have maximum speed and efficiency for minimum effort. Getting the board set up in the right spot where you're going as fast as you can go without doing anything. That's the trim spot on a board. And that'll be that front third in here. And then you go up a little farther and you'll slow the board down by sinking that front end a little bit when you're hanging 5. You can see how the board will rock forward, it'll slow down, and then you'll come back off of it and you're in trim again. Hanging 5 has a different personality than hanging 10. Hanging 5 is actually more efficient. a lot of times you'll walk up towards the nose, you're developing your forward speed, you get up to the nose and your back foot still, you know, a good 16 inches back from the nose, and you're gonna go and hang 5, but your weight is really on that back leg. So you're back here still trimming really fast. When you really carry your weight forward, then you're starting to stall the board. You're actually starting to dig in a little bit and slow down. So the hang 5 with the foot in the back, you can really go a long way in the face of the wave because your weight's being carried on the trim spot of the board. So you're back and actually going at a real nice clip, real fast, making a critical section. At this point, if the wave sets up right in front of you and you want to slow yourself down, the best way to slow down is actually just bring it up for a 10. Because then you're going to start to sink your nose and slow everything down. You've got all this weight out on the front end of your board. So then you're out there, you're going to slow it down, and then you've got to come back off of it. So the hang 10 actually is traditionally a stalling technique, just to slow yourself down a little bit. Whereas hang 5, that's for speed, that's for trim. I have your momentum forward, low, and make it around a section. It's a Paul Stroud or a cheater 5. Because, you know, all your weight's back here, and you're cheating a foot out onto the nose. I mean, a real 5 is being up here. So this is considered a cheater 5, because all your weight's on the back. A long skateboard is, you know, it's not for tricks. It's for cross-country skateboarding, getting from one place to the other. So a lot of the things you'll see people do on long skateboards are real similar to what people will do on a long surfboard. So there's a nice relationship there between the longboard skateboard and the longboard surfboard.
gifts, but 1 subscribers. Thanks for the candy basket. Oh God, another jacket. My stocking's filled with acid. Am I dreaming? What just happened? This is not a Christmas. This is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas.
How much tube riding is there actually in longboarding?
There's basically 3 different ways to get your hair wet while you're surfing. The head dip can be as simple as just sticking your head down and getting a little bit of water on your head. This is a confidence move. It's not a real big wave. It's not going to throw out real far, but you're showing your balance and your technique, and you just bend at the waist, you keep your knees real straight, and you just dip down and get a little water on your neck. That's the basic head dip. The second way is a little cover up. You've got a wave that's going to throw out a little bit. It's not going to open up a really big tube. It's just going to kind of collapse on top of you. And that's just a little cover up. You'll see that happen a lot. People get little cover ups right when they take off. They'll make their first little turn, they'll stick their hand in the wave, and just the first little part of the lip will just kind of cover and collapse on them, and they come right out of it. That's just a quick cover up. If you can get a tube ride, either by really setting up and stalling on a bigger wave and opening up and letting that wave really, cover you up completely and get a good tube ride. Or a lot of times you'll see people put their hand into the face of the wave and really try to slow down and let that wave catch up with them, because it's going to be big and round over a section. Pull in, stall, get a tube ride, and come out. When you're surfing backside, trying to get a cover up or a tube is a totally different game, because you're dealing with the balls, the back of your feet, not the balls anymore. You don't have quite the same vision of your wave. So it's real common to do a rail grab tube ride. You lift up on your rail and you really try to pull into the wave. Matt Tanner will do that a lot. If he gets into a hollower wave, they're usually not real big, so you have to kind of squat down to fit anyway. You lift your rail and you pull in and you get a really nice cover up or a tube ride. For me, more important in longboarding is nose riding rather than tube riding, because the longboard was not designed with tube riding in mind. You can get a longboard into a tube, but you've got so much rail and you tend to be a little too far forward on the board to effectively tube ride, that when you're up that far forward on the board, your tail wants to let go in a hollow wave. So you don't see really long tube rides on a longboard. There's a few waves that are an exception. You can watch Joel Tudor at Pipeline, and you'll see a guy on a longboard get a tube, but Pipeline's a very special wave. There's no long tube rides really in longboarding. I think the nose ride is really more the quintessential longboard move.
Speed seems to be really important when you got to make that wave.
Speed is the essence of good surfing. The faster you go, the more power you have on the wave. Speed equals power. So you come out of your first turn, and now you're setting up that whole wave. You've got to run, you need to go fast. You can come out of that first turn, climb back up to the top of the wave, and drop back down and really pick up speed. You're just using that momentum up to the top and just carrying it down, and boom, and it's an explosive second turn. You can also come out of that first turn. You don't have to go quite as fast, so you take a few steps forward and you hit the trim spot of your board. So now you're up at the front third of the board, and you can relax. You're going at maximum speed without any extra effort. So that's the second way you can do it. The third way, you come out of that first turn up to the top and drive again. And drive again. You keep your weight at the tail, you use the harder edges on your board maybe, you use the 3 fins, and you just pump it off the tail and generate a lot of speed. You'll see that a lot with the progressive surfers. You'll see it with the high performance, modern style of longboarding. A good example is you'll watch Jay Moriarty. He makes a really quick first turn, he'll get a couple of quick pumps down the line, and then he's anticipating a section. And he'll kind of straighten out a little bit into the flat, come back and throw the board up on the lip. And you'll see a really nice off the lip, you know, a re-entry, a little bit of a floater, depending on how the wave sets up for him. Same thing with Matt Tanner, except now it's a goofy foot doing it. So you'll see a backside, quick short blasts to accelerate, to get speed. David or Kevin, and that's the bigger backside turn. They come out, climb back up to the top, they'll do another one, and then they're setting up their cutback. So that's more of the climbing up to the lip and dropping again, using gravity. When you're looking at front side, you've got like Kenji or myself, where we do the climbing up to the top real slow, dropping again. We're not in quite as much of a hurry. It's really nice to watch Kenji come out of a turn up to the top, and he'll usually come up to his top turn and actually cut back a little bit and then run. And that's part of the fun, is everybody puts their own personal twist on it. And you can really, after watching someone surf for a couple of hours, you can spot them, no matter what they're doing, by the way they stand, the way they flip a little bit of a cutback in the middle of a turn. And that's the two fine lines you can walk in longboarding, is forcing a board to do it, having the strength, or using finesse and technique.
Another way to get through a section or to trim along is with your feet side by side on either side of the stringer. Instead of the traditional one foot in front of the other, you just stand side by side. You'll see a lot of backside surfers do it on a right-hand wave. And we call it doing battle with the whitewater. See Kevin Misk do it a lot. I do it a lot. It's a tribute to Robert August in the original Endless Summer at Cape St. Francis.
Robert got down into the squat to go faster. I don't think you're actually going faster, but it sure feels like you are. You're down there near the face of the wave, and it's actually difficult. I mean, you're standing parallel when you're doing this. You lower your center of gravity, and you just go screaming along. Basically, the best known high-performance maneuver is going to be the 360. You go out to the nose, you stand there, the tail's going to drift out, the tail will spin all the way around, and you'll complete a 360. And then you're just reacting to that. Although it's equipment failure and it's a trick, it takes a very talented surfer to complete it when your board is slipping down the wave with no fin in it. And so it's reacting to that failure of your fin to hold and being able to bring it back to the beach, letting your fin sit in the water again, and then the board will spin around the rest of the way. You can see Jay Moriarty do that.
Longboarding is an individual expression of what you like to do in the water. There's many different ways to do it. I really enjoy the traditional style of longboarding, really taking the classic maneuvers from the 60s and trying to perfect them and add them into my repertoire of what I like to do. There's modern progressive longboarding, which combines the shortboard maneuvers of today with the longboard technology. You'll see a goofy foot traditional surfer doing traditional maneuvers and a goofy foot modern surfer, and they both approach the wave completely differently. There's the progressive regular footer that will be hitting the lip and radical cutbacks and doing floaters over sections. And you'll see the traditional longboarder, regular foot, smooth turns around a section, really trying to keep his upper body quiet, really trying to keep a classic style. For as many different people as there are out there, there's that many different longboard styles. Nobody is right, nobody's wrong. As long as everybody who's getting out of the water still has a smile on their face, they're doing it right. They're having fun.
So this one has a narrower nose. It's a lot faster for trimming and nose riding. This one with the wider nose rides better. And again, a step deck, a little bit looser and lighter on the front end, and again, another 9-footer quick performance. So these are the basic choices when you're looking at a longboard.
I'm so hot.
It's all over. Everybody wave bye-bye. Make Cameron wave.